Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have overnight been on a new PR blitz to try and win over King Charles ahead of what they hope to be a summer royal reunion next month.
We actually have some feedback from Meghan Markle. She's hitting back at her critics over some of these images she's been sharing online.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been plagued by a dark cloud of their own making, and it overshadows everything that they try to do, especially lately.
All the royals, the King, the Queen, of course William, Kate, etc. Also Princess Bee and Princess Eugenie, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's kids, controversially, they were there. Harry and Meghan's absence were absolutely conspicuous by their absence.
They spent years telling the entire planet how much they hated the family, the institution, the country that made them, and now they want to fly straight back in, smiling and waving, like none of it ever happened.
Harry and Meghan's strategy to create a sensational, albeit largely fictitious, storyline out of the royals and their time working for the monarchy was a recipe for media success. But notice the distinction between media success and personal and reputational success.
But Britain just answered with a number so brutal it stopped them cold. And behind closed doors, the marriage trying to pull off this comeback may be cracking apart.
Harry would be a distraction. It would be awkward because he hasn't talked to his cousin in so long. So anyone trying to make the point that this was Harry's decision has lost the plot.
Let's just sit with the nerve of it for a second. Harry is plotting a return to the UK this July, hauling the whole Invictus operation with him, a big one-year countdown event over in Birmingham. And the word coming out of every single corner is exactly the same. Nobody asked for this. Not the government, not the palace, and nowhere near the public.
And Harry said he'd never bring Meghan and their kids back to Britain, but that now could be about to change. This is the bombshell discovery I've made from my royal insiders about his return. The King's reaction says it all. Well, let me tell you, the King's reaction is not good. Okay? And this constant attempt to bounce the royal family into a reunion that the royal family doesn't want, the government doesn't want, and trust me, the British people certainly don't want, I don't think is a good idea.
Here's the part that makes people's blood boil. You don't get to sit on Oprah's couch, make a Netflix series, write a tell-all book, and torch your own grandmother, your father, your brother, the whole country, and then a few years later swan back in expecting a homecoming parade. That's the thing these two have never been able to grasp.
They have explicitly stated in interviews and via spokespersons or sources close to the couple, Harry and Meghan themselves, that they want to reconcile with the royal family, that they're done with all of the drama, that they miss their family. I would be surprised if Meghan ever says another word about the royals. That sort of a thing has been circulating for like a year now. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares, and nobody believes them.
The British public has a long memory, and they remember every word, every accusation, every interview where the family that gave them everything got dragged through the mud for profit.
Money-making machine. You have a notoriously private and inconceivably famous family having a rogue who's willing to sell secrets, true or not. That is an undeniable goldmine of content. Everybody's curious about the royal family. They're like the most famous royal family in the world, and everyone knows who they are, and they're also incredibly popular and well-liked.
So when the reports started swirling that the Sussexes were eyeing a summer comeback, the reaction wasn't excitement. It wasn't even curiosity. It was something a lot closer to disgust, because everyone could see it for what it really is: a pivot, a rebrand, an attempt to stroll back into the room they set on fire and act like they're smelling smoke for the very first time.
The King is keen to show his support for the Invictus Games. Like the rest of the royal family, His Majesty believes that Invictus is a very worthy cause, a friend of the monarch told me. He hopes that the Games will be a big success for Birmingham next year and is aware that a lot of taxpayers' money has been spent on it.
And right as those whispers got loud, the data dropped, and it was so much worse than anyone in their camp could have braced for. 19%. That's it. That is how many people in Britain now hold a favorable view of Meghan Markle, according to YouGov's own tracker. 19.
Harry and Meghan basically are laying down the ground and running with a narrative in the hope that there's going to be a change. And there's not going to be a change of any significance. Yes, Harry will get some security. Every time Harry comes, if he gives notice, he gets security. That's not news. That's old. We're well aware of that. That's been happening since Harry and Meghan stepped down as senior royals.
And this isn't some one-off bad week. It's the lowest figure they have ever recorded for her since they started measuring all the way back in 2017. Now look at the other half of that number, because this is where it really stings. 66% of Britons hold a negative view of her. 2 out of every 3 people in the entire country actively dislike the woman. That works out to a net rating of -47.
Grievance and what Meghan had issues with, why she was complaining and falling on the floor in tears, crying with her entitled, arrogant butt, just wanting everything. Girl, you ain't got nothing to cry about. You have the best of the best. Be glad you have what you have, because there's a whole lot better than a lot of people out there. And these are things that Meghan, he's saying, was denied. Like, she should have been given more than she was, which is a whole nother video. Like, for real, get off your nonsense and your stupidity.
Let me put that in plain English. She is now one of the most disliked public figures in all of Britain. Not a celebrity having a rough patch. One of the most rejected people in the country. And don't forget where she started. Back in 2019, she was sitting around 55%. Liked by most of the nation. A genuine fairy tale arrival.
She is in a conflict with herself as a brand, because on the one hand, she's now gone with that girl, whatever her name is, I've forgotten, Olivia McDowell, something like that. Very attractive girl with something like 250,000 followers. So, I mean, she's hardly earth-shattering. But that already is an admission that Meghan is toxic.
Then came the exit. Then Oprah. Then the curtsy mockery. The racism claims, the endless, dripping faucet of grievance, and the support didn't just fade, it hemorrhaged. She didn't slip down the ladder, she fell off it.
They spent years building this dark cloud of controversy that's now calcified in the public opinion. They fed their controversial image time and time again with Oprah and Spare and Netflix projects and social media, interviews, and endless trickles of leaks and rebuttals to the press. So much so that now we've heard for nearly a year that Harry and Meghan are trying to put the drama behind them. Isn't that special? They're ready to move past the family drama, and they just can't shake this vibe, this cloud.
And Harry's no lifeboat either. His own numbers are scraping historic lows. The only royal the British public dislikes more than him right now is Andrew. And let me tell you, that is not a club anybody volunteers to be in. So here's the question that should be keeping their PR team up at night. If that's how the whole country feels on paper, what on earth happens when she actually steps off the plane?
With Meghan, I think, again, she's trying so hard. She's trying to imitate these other celebrities that do this. And so it doesn't come across, especially... Again, the whole backstory about this is her messaging to the real world, which is don't do this. And then she does it. But I think she's trying to emulate some of these younger celebrities that do this photo dump, no context. Here I'm randomly cutting onions. Here's Harry playing with Archie in the yard. She's just trying to look like these younger people.
The experts already have an answer for that, and it is savage. Former royal editor Charles Ray said it flat out. If Meghan came back and stepped out in public, she would be booed, and that she simply could not cope with the reception waiting for her. He didn't soften it. He didn't hedge. Whether it's a royal job or, as he put it, a jam job. A little jab at that as ever brand of hers.
All of these things are very standard activities, objectively speaking, when it comes to celebrities or public figures. Honestly, on paper, nothing to write home about here. These are pretty normal things that celebrities do or try. But the problem is, no one is talking about the jam or the loose spread or the charities, at least not in a good way. Because for years, Harry and Meghan trained the press and the public to expect exactly one product from them: scorched earth, controversy, and drama.
The streets of Britain are not rolling out a red carpet. They're rolling out something a great deal louder. And here's where the whole thing turns genuinely dark, because royal commentators are now openly claiming that Meghan's plan to survive that hostility is to bring the children, Archie and Lilibet. The theory being floated out loud is blunt, that the kids would act as a kind of human shield, soften the boos, blunt the cameras, because who's going to scream at a mother holding her babies?
She also said something else afterwards, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, did she?
It doesn't matter.
I'll go and check.
You know, it doesn't really matter. The point is, she's desperate and she's thrashing around trying to find. She's like a rat that's enclosed in a courtyard of cement and knows that there's food behind the wall, and it's desperately thrashing around, going here, there, and everywhere, trying to get a way in because it smells the food, it wants the food, but it doesn't manage to get access to the food.
Now think about that for 1 second. This is the same woman who lectures the entire world about protecting children from public exposure. The same household preaching privacy from every stage it can find, while allegedly planning to march 2 little kids out as armor against an angry crowd. If that claim is even half true, it is one of the most cynical things you will hear all year. But the timing of this whole trip? That might just be the most revealing part of the entire story.
The Duchess has always been clear that there is a distinction between sharing moments from her life and exposing her children to public scrutiny. By obscuring their faces, she is demonstrating the very principle she advocates for, giving children privacy, agency, and protection in an incredibly digital world. Far from being contradictory, by concealing their faces, she is actually reflecting the message she delivered in Geneva, that parents can choose to share family experiences while still taking deliberate steps to protect identities, privacy, and a digital footprint.
Because here's what the insiders say is actually driving her now. According to claims swirling out of sources close to Meghan's camp, she is not crawling back humbled. Not even close. She's coming back to show Britain what they threw away. That's the energy. Not apology, vindication. She wants to step off that plane not as the chastened ex-royal, but as a member of the Californian business elite, flying the flag of mindful wealth and glowing success, and rubbing the nation's nose in it.
This is a major statement coming from this report about, or what's been said allegedly about, the king, because the royal family's biggest concern really is not just Meghan, it is trust. And they are worried about leaks. They are worried about interviews. They are worried about documentaries. They are worried about any private conversation with Harry could become future content. And we know after Oprah and Netflix and Spare, the years of public criticism can, anyone blame the royal family for feeling this way, considering what we've seen happen?
One commentator nailed it. She was never going to land at Heathrow looking like the Yoko of the royal family. She wants to land looking like she won the whole thing. There's just one tiny problem with that fantasy. The empire she's flexing is wobbling badly. The Spotify deal? Gone. The Netflix deal? Reportedly slashed right down. And that, as Everbrand, she keeps shoving in everyone's face. Her own popularity in America has been sliding right alongside it.
Mr. Johnson, who is an expert in this space, said, bringing in other personalities to carry your brand is running the classic playbook. He added that the team need to stop the As Ever brand from becoming a personality cult. And he said that similar strategies have been used by Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop and Jessica Alba's The Honest Company. It's a smart move. The question will be whether the team stick with the strategy for long enough to see the benefits, or whether we see another erratic pivot feed the diva Duchess tag that they are desperate to overcome. Meghan's evolving marketing strategy comes amid reports, as you've just outlined, Lady C, suggesting a dip in her popularity among Americans in the first 3 months of 2026.
So you've got a woman selling the world a lifestyle of effortless, sun-drenched success, while the actual business propping it up sputters and stalls. And the public clocks the contradiction in everything she posts. The perfectly arranged baskets of garden produce, The jam that taste testers keep describing as runny and forgettable. The endless photo dumps. The whole performance of a serene, picture book family that nobody quite believes is real.
Harry and Meghan had like a three-pronged approach against them. The media was willing to milk them for all that they were worth, all that they were willing to give up, giving them as much airtime as they desired as long as they were giving something juicy, true or not. And the royal family was not willing to get in the mud with them, refused to complain or explain. They were only willing to give Harry and Meghan enough rope to self-destruct. And no one, including the Sussexes, were looking out for their long-term reputation. Absolutely no one cared about that.
Every single thing she touches gets the same verdict from the people watching. It looks staged. It looks fake. It looks like an advertisement for a life she is only pretending to live. But the wobbly business and the jam and the wardrobe, honestly, that's the warm-up act. The real fight, the one happening behind palace walls right now, is the one that exposes exactly who Harry has turned into.
None of the work, none of the initiatives, none of the causes, none of the diplomacy was featured. The media only went for that sensational, high drama. Meghan thinks that nobody's asked her if she's okay. How absurd is that? This is exactly why the never complain, never explain mantra is so powerful in PR and the gold standard when it comes to publicity or public image. Because the second you start trying to explain, you create a dynamic where your choices and your actions are up for debate. It shows that you're trying to convince people of something.
Sources inside the royal world claim Harry hasn't come asking for forgiveness. He's come with a list. A string of demands. That's the actual phrase being thrown around. Every one of them circling the same point. Making sure Meghan is welcomed, protected, and, as one source put it, treated with kid gloves. Conditions, terms, requirements for how his wife must be handled before she'll even think about setting a foot in the country she helped trash.
She's telling Harry what she wants, and Harry is trying to put it in terms as if it's something that he wants. You know, I want my family to have this security. They're not safe. And behind that message that Harry is saying, this is what Meghan is saying. Harry, look, I am not going to go to the UK unless I get the best of the best security, just like your brother and Catherine. That's the message. And then translation, Papa, I can't bring my family to the UK because they just won't be safe. Because we know how ridiculous that is. So you have to understand the message that Meghan is saying and conveying to Harry in his translation of what Meghan said. Okay? Because that's all it is. It's Meghan's translation is Harry's speaking points. Okay?
And the senior royals, by every account, are absolutely furious about it because they can see precisely what's happening. The entire conversation, yet again, has been bent and warped around Meghan and her comfort. The man who walked out, who sold every private grievance to the highest bidder, is now standing there dictating terms to the very family he humiliated on a world stage. King Charles, they say, is desperate for peace. He's an aging father who'd dearly love to patch this up before it's too late. But even he is reportedly wary, because there's a real trap waiting here. If he caves, if he rolls out a warm welcome, it starts to look like he's treating Harry as the prodigal son returning in triumph, rewarding the betrayal.
For years, Harry has demanded apologies, understanding. He's demanded security, compassion, reconciliation. But now, according to reports, Charles may be making it clear that the burden is no longer the royal family. And I'm so glad they have hit their breaking point, as they should have a long time ago. But I get it. They're trying to be cordial and, you know, show themselves as being understanding to the situation. But they have had it. They are at their wits' end. And the burden now is on Harry.
And that is a message the working royals, the ones who stayed, who did the duty, who never once sold a family secret, simply cannot stomach. Then there's the security war humming underneath all of it. Harry lost his legal battle over taxpayer-funded protection. He was told, in effect, that the automatic armed detail that came with being a working royal does not follow you out the door when you quit. And he keeps pushing, keeps appealing, keeps framing it as a matter of life and safety. while his critics see something else entirely. They see a man demanding the blue lights and the motorcades and the status, long after he tossed the actual job in the bin. They see somebody who wants every single perk of the family he spent years tearing apart. And yet, as bitter as that family rift has become, there may be a far bigger crack than the one between Harry and the palace, one a lot closer to home.
They are trying to manipulate things on several different fronts. On the one hand, they're trying to put pressure on the government to restore their security status. That's on the one hand. And of course, it's not because their lives are in danger here, any more than their lives are in danger anywhere. And it's quite clear their lives are not in danger. It's that they want all of the bells and whistles, the blue lights and the traffic lights being overridden as the security detail whizzes through with them in their car. That's basically what they want.
Because this entire comeback is being built on a marriage that, according to report after report, is quietly coming apart at the seams. Insiders have told outlets the two are now living what they call separate lives. Husband and wife, in name only, is the phrase that keeps surfacing. The picture being painted is almost the opposite of everything those glossy photo dumps are selling. Harry, they say, has become Mr. Mom, home with the 2 kids, while Meghan throws herself into her social life and her brand, a united front for the cameras, sources insist, and very little in common once the cameras switch off. And this fight over Britain, it's reportedly the thing dragging it all to the surface. Harry, homesick, aching for his country, desperate for his children to actually know their grandfather. Meghan, flatly refusing, because to her, the UK is bound up with the most painful, scrutinized chapter of her entire life, and she has no intention of being dragged back into it. One side wants to go home, the other side never wants to see the place again, and insiders warn that this single, unresolved question could become the breaking point, the thing that finally splits them for good. The signs keep stacking up too, the separate solo appearances, and one that landed especially hard. Harry photographed off on a skiing trip in Aspen, while back home, Meghan was facing fresh scrutiny over her own father, Thomas, who had just undergone surgery that cost him his leg, a husband on the slopes, a wife, and her estranged, ailing dad, an ocean apart. It is not the portrait of a fairy tale. There were even whispers, floated in Vanity Fair, that Meghan's team had quietly tested interest in a so-called divorce memoir. She's denied all of it, of course, looked the cameras dead in the eye, and said no one in the world loves her more than Harry, that he loves her boldly and fully. But the denials keep having to be made, and in this story, the louder the denial, the louder the doubt.
Because their entire brand identity has been built on spilling the tea and stirring the pot and creating drama, settling scores, and publicly exposing private moments of the royals and themselves, and filing court cases and doing interviews complaining. And they've done all of that in very dramatic fashion, too. At first, it worked. You gotta give it to them. At first, it worked. Because it was a recipe for media success. Not their success, per se, the Sussexes, but the media conglomerates, heck yes.
So picture the whole thing now. A country that doesn't want them. A poll that humiliates them. A public ready to boo. A family fed up with the demands. A marriage running on fumes. And then, almost as if the universe itself wanted the last laugh, Birmingham delivered the final insult. The city Harry is returning to, the city hosting his big, triumphant Invictus moment, is currently buried in trash. Birmingham is in the grip of a bin strike. The streets are piled high with rubbish, bags everywhere you look. The smell, the mess, the rising public anger. One local source said, the garbage has basically become a symbol of everything people are angry about, and it's about to become the literal backdrop to the grand Sussex homecoming. Insiders are flat out calling it a nightmare scenario. One source said it plainly. Harry wants Meghan to reconnect with Britain, not arrive into headlines about overflowing bins and bad smells, and a city under pressure. The genuine fear inside their camp is that one single photograph, Harry, mid-speech, a mountain of garbage looming behind him, could swallow months of careful planning whole. Honestly, you could not script it better if you sat down and tried. And while every bit of this unravels, just look at the contrast. William and Kate are sitting up around 74, 75, 77% approval. Adored, steady, quietly getting on with the work. Charles holds a comfortable majority. The institution these two tried to burn to the ground is standing taller than it has in years. And the pair who left to chase something bigger and brighter are the ones with nowhere left to land. That's the trap they built with their own hands. An entire identity made out of controversy and grievance, and being the wronged party. And that shadow never, ever lifts. You cannot spend years selling the world your pain, and then ask that same world to suddenly see you as humble little philanthropists. People don't forget. And right now, they are making that crystal clear. They wanted the door held open. Britain just showed them exactly where it stands. The videos on your screen go even deeper into what's coming next for the Sussexes. Tap one now, and I'll see you over there.